Well, good morning. Greetings and salutations to everybody out there in YouTube land. I'm your host once again, Dan Thornton. I want to thank each and every one of you for tuning in today, Monday morning, the day after the bloodbath in Baltimore. Let's face it, let's get it out of our systems early and say this. Didn't nothing go right? I mean, everything that could have gone bad for the team did go bad, and let's just say that there was a whole lot of bad to be had. That also being said, I'm going to tell you all right now, I'm not feeling very well. I've been up since 2:30, 3 o'clock. So if I get off the air early, just trust me, I gotta go. So with all that being said, good morning to all of you. I see the chat's already blowing up. Let's handle some of this real quick here. Phil's ready to go. All right, Phil, what do you got? And good morning to you, by the way. Dan, could this loss linger for the next few weeks? It was a beat down that could destroy a team for a while. I'll say this. The good thing, Phil, and everybody in the chat, good morning to y'all. Let's also look back to the last time the Lions had a road loss. And I want to think, I don't remember the person in the chat, but on yesterday's video they put in there, and I thought it was a good point. That's why I'm bringing it up. The last time we lost on the road, as we're all aware, was at Carolina. And while, it's hard to say that was a better blowout than yesterday at Baltimore, there are a lot of similarities for sure. So it will be a big tell how this team responds. Now, I will say this. We're getting the Raiders, Monday Night Football. I think because of that, that's going to be a huge factor to your point, Phil. That place, Ford Field, is going to be packed. I think we all get it. Plus, you add the fact that it's Monday Night Football. Players have pride. Players have, egos. The same with coaches. I mean, most people do. I think they're going to come out fired up, ready to go. I think they're going to come out and really put it on the Raiders. Also, what's being said, the fact that you now have a bye week after that, you're going to go out, I'm anticipating in this scenario, on a very good note. You're now going to have, basically a month will have passed before the game after that. So I'm thinking this is going to be a big one for us. If we come out and the opposite side of that is we come out and don't do well against the Raiders, the opposite will be true. You have had two bad losses. Now going into the bye, everything kind of stinks for a month. Then you probably got some real problems, to your point, Phil. All right, Pierce, what do you got? And good morning to you. I think the young guys started buying the hype and got cocky. To your point, think about what I was saying about the last time we lost on the road. And that was obviously against Carolina. A lot of similarities. You'd won a bunch in a row, and it's just kind of human nature, especially in a game like football where everything is so physical and the margin between shutting a play down and getting ran over is pretty small. If you're not going full strength all the time, going after things, it's just hard to compete, especially against a very physical team who's playing at home, who's got a reason to play because they want to beat the Lions, show that we are in the upper echelon of players or teams in the league. So I get it. It was a bad game, but to your point, Pierce, I think there's a lot of truth to that. JP, I know one lay an egg loss was coming. It's okay. Still fully believe in this team. And that's kind of my point with today's show is I don't really think this changes anything. I mentioned it yesterday in the post-game show. If we go into the bye 6-2, did anybody have realistic expectations to be higher than that? I think that would have been not I guess what I'd say is I'm pretty okay with 6-2 going into that bye. I think they've done a lot of good things. Yes, they've got some, that loss in Baltimore, and you could even say the Seattle loss weren't great feeling. But I will also say this: yesterday, at least to me, let's see what you guys think about this. Pointed out a lot of things that need to be addressed. And coaching, my lifetime, I've learned you're going to find out more. You're going to discover more truths from a loss. Hopefully not one as bad as yesterday, but losses do a lot for you to reevaluate player personnel, schematics, decisions, things of that sort. In my opinion, you guys let me know, but I think we need another legitimate pass rusher. You can see what teams are doing against Aiden, and the rest of the line just isn't getting their win rates high enough to effectively alter offensive line blocking assignments or schemes. The other part of that is I'm not trying to turn this morning show into yell and scream about this, that, and the other thing, but I think the offensive and defensive coordinators are going to have to learn to make some more rapid adjustments in game when things aren't going well. I mentioned it yesterday post game. You saw the horseshoe formation the Lions ran against Lamar, and I get, we all knew it was coming. It was there, but the problem I have with it is when Lamar starts destroying it, how long do you go until you make an adjustment? And unfortunately for the Lions, we were already down. I think I'd have to look back at my notes. And like I said, guys, I'm kind of going on fumes here. I want to say we were down 21 or 28-0 before the Lions made any kind of defensive front changes. And that's just, at that point, it's almost too late. It's not that a team can't come back from 21-28 down, but in the NFL, how often is that really going to happen? That's something that's going to have to be addressed. All right, Bergs, what do you got? Good morning, everyone. Mondays suck after a loss, but we will bounce back into the Raiders, just a bump in the road. I agree. At the end of the year, let's play this out, man. Let's say we finish with 5 losses. We'll go with that. How much are you really going to look back on this one? You might even actually change your opinion, look back and say that was the best thing that happened to this team because it forced changes. It forced alterations. It, forced the team, the players to reevaluate things they do before big games. You can learn on quite a bit from a loss. If you don't learn it, though, and this drags into next week against Monday Night Football, then that's a major problem. To me, that's on the coaching staff. All right, Phil, what do you got, man? Got a new full sugar dew this morning. Add a bit of 5-hour energy to it. Then add it into my blue Kool-Aid. Yeah, give it a go, man. And I highly recommend from the Circle K. Again, from the fountain, half diet, half regular. Not worried one bit. Me either, Pierce. All right, JP, what do you got? It's an ugly road loss. This should get them back to working hard. I would agree. And I got to imagine this week, man, they're all fully going to be looking to take it out someone. They know they got embarrassed. They know they got lit up. They know they got spanked. Whatever you want to say, I'm just guessing here, but I'm thinking they're coming out saying that's exactly what we're going to do the Raiders. I did hear Jimmy G is going to be back for the game. We'll see if that bears out. If Jimmy G's not in there, I think this thing will be incredibly ugly. If he is in there, I mean, he's not a mobile quarterback, so take that away from him. And he is a quarterback that if you get pressure on him, that's going to cause some problems. He historically doesn't handle that well, especially coming back from an injury, and he's had a long history of injuries. I think the Lions should be Blitzburg against him, get him on the floor, and force some turnovers. We'll see what shakes out. Bergs, that being said, I hope Brad sees what's needed desperately, a pass rusher and another back. Yeah, and before I talk about what we need or anything, we should all, say a moment of prayer or whatever you want to do. Just say, be thankful that Mo's injury was addressed when it was. I didn't see it from the camera angles that I watched the game on, but I will say this. When you dislocate a leg from your hip, that's a major injury, man. Yeah, he's dang lucky they got him to the hospital and got him into surgery ASAP. Sounds like they're anticipating he's going to be okay, but I will also say this. That's probably the last snap you ever see him play in the NFL. That's unfortunate, but I'm just glad he's going to be okay from all reports. All right. Also, Gibbs looked good. I would agree with you, Pierce. I think we all get that they had to abandon the running game fairly early, but when he got his opportunities, just like in Atlanta, he did pretty well with it. I don't think anybody should be discouraged by it. He performed well. He caught the ball well. His release between the guards and the tackle looked a whole lot better, in my opinion, than they did against Atlanta. I think I said against the Atlanta game, second half, I thought he looked pretty good. First half, he kind of looked meh. Yesterday, I thought he looked just good. He hit the holes, even generated contact, which is, I get, not his forte, but he was looking to make contact with people. All right, JP, what do you got? I'm not worried either. Me either. Don Burr, greetings and salutations to you too. Brent, good morning to you. JP, give the Raiders credit. They whooped the Lions, or Ravens credit. Yeah, they whooped the Lions. Yeah, and that's the other part of it. it was just a snowball effect. They got up early. They got us out early, a bunch of 3-and-outs for us on offense. I will say this, the only real knock I'm going to give on Ben Johnson is you can't be stubborn. You got to identify what, in my opinion, you got to identify what the other teams, in this case, their defense's strengths are, and what can you do to take them out of that. I thought early in the game, we really played to the Ravens' strengths defensively. I thought we'd be a lot more creative than that, and it just kind of went downhill from there. So, is what it is. Brother Ken, I'm still mad. Yeah, I get it, man. I get it. And good morning to you. I know it's early where you're at, but hey, got to move on. Get ready for the next game. We can't change yesterday. We can focus on Monday. Nine Drinks. Good morning to the talk of shame. There you go. All right, yeah, and that's basically what we got here. Not a pretty one. Not ugly. You can't blame any refs. You can't blame one play. They cheated or anything like that. I made a joke on the social media about it that, the Hardball brothers must have got together and scouted everybody, NFL and college football, because they knew what we were doing better than what we knew what we were doing a lot of times. Bergs, last butt kicking was Carolina last year. Yeah, I would say that. Yeah. So, hey, what I can say is this regime, whenever it has happened, we've got smacked like this, we do typically seem to respond well to it. To me, that would make sense given Campbell's personality, that he's able to help rally teams or players and get them focused. But again, I think you won't have to do a ton of this as a coach. Everybody knows you're going to have the national spotlight Monday night. I think the players are going to be pretty pumped for it, and also looking to take out some of their frustrations from what happened yesterday on someone. They've got a team I think they can take some frustrations out on. All right, Brent, I expect the Lions to bounce back and whoop the Raiders. I'm with you 100%. Yeah, and like I said at the start of the show, you go into that break 6-2. Would we all have loved 7-1? Sure. We would have loved 8-0. It's not 1-6. It's not 1-7. It's not 5. As long as you're not 5-2 or 3 or whatever, I think you're going to be okay. But this will be a big game from an emotional component standpoint. You go on there, take a whooping out on the Raiders, go into that bye 6-2. I think we're going to be fine. Don Jimmy G, not Lamar. Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, vastly different. Dan Pierce, Dan, will they ever have Jimmy G? Will they even have Jimmy G? I heard he was going to return next week, but don't hold me to that. It's nothing official yet, but I think that was their anticipation that he'd be back. If he ain't back, like I said, Pierce, I think this would be a real ugly game. This could be one Detroit puts up 50 on, but we'll see what happens. Phil, what do you got? Expect and reality are two different things. Raiders were embarrassed too. They'll be ready to. Yeah, the big, I think, factor, Phil, at least we'll see what happens. Maybe we lose by 100, but I think just because it's at home, we're Monday Night Football. I get both teams will be pumped for it. I just also think that quarterback play, Jimmy G or not, I don't think is a strength of the Raiders. I think we can get after Jimmy G and do a lot of damage on him. We'll see, though. I expected a lot more adjustments out of our coaching staff than what we got yesterday in Baltimore. That being said, I'm going to give us the benefit of the doubt and say that I think we'll do okay. We'll see, though. Daz, let's just hope we don't play the Ravens in the Super Bowl. The other part of that, is they're going to be in the AFC. They're going to have to work their way all the way out to the Super Bowl. We're going to not have an easy task getting to the Super Bowl either, but there are some teams that are just bad matchups. The Ravens, at least yesterday, looked like a bad matchup for the Lions. They would have to get through everybody else. They also looked pretty strong in what they were doing with Lamar. I thought was great, and probably, I know the commentators talked about it. They've really evolved Lamar, and he is going to be one of the more difficult quarterbacks to have to defend probably for years. He reminds me a ton of Steve Young, because if you're old enough to remember Steve Young, the dude could whip it and he could run, and that made it a challenge for other teams to have to defend. And it was a day and a time for less mobile quarterbacks around the league, but man, you had to pick your poison with him, and I think that's probably where you are with Lamar Jackson. He's probably the biggest threat I've seen at quarterback that's comparable to Randall Cunningham or Steve Young that I can recall in the modern age, because he's become a very good passer. All right, went on too long about that, but Don Burr, what do you got? Jimmy G isn't a Lamar, and I question Aaron Glenn's game strategy and Ben Johnson's play calling. It was conservative to open damn playbook. All the speed we have and use it. And Don, I agree with you 1,000%, because I knew what we were going to start out doing as far as the responsibilities of the defensive line. I just can't believe we never made adjustments nor ever challenged really Lamar. I mean, when you're going to play scared, and this is my opinion, I'm not Aaron Glenn. I don't know what he was thinking. I can just tell you what I thought based on how we used the front line and then the secondary. We played scared. We played in the secondary. Everybody was backed off 3, 4, 5, 6 yards. And I didn't see that coming. I thought, all right, you're going to start off doing something. You're going to evolve into this over the course of the game to try to cause some hesitation or confusion, especially from the offensive line. But, man, that was I'm not trying to be mean here, but that was some grade school defense. That Baltimore offensive line never got tested. They never had to communicate under fire about who's coming, who's releasing from us up front. There was no chance for them to have to make an error because we never put them in that position. As far as our secondary on the receivers and tight ends, I mean, again, it looked like you were playing not to give up a bomb half the time. You were going to let them do everything they wanted up front, short intermediate routes, outs, and then give him 7, 5, 10 seconds at a time to throw. Man, I don't know about anybody else, but it's almost impossible for someone to play man-to-man defense on a receiver in the NFL. I mean, these guys got there for a reason. If you're going to give the quarterback 3 seconds, let alone 5, 9 seconds. Yeah, I'm with you, Don. That I thought that was. Hey, I want to take shots at coaches, but I guess I kind of just did, didn't I? Yeah, I thought that was some bad defensive play calling. And the offense wasn't much better. I get in the second half when the game was down, 4,000 to nothing. They opened up the playbook, spread it out the defense. But you should have been doing that from the start. Again, identify what their defensive strength is, and it's their backers and its front seven. You need to spread those bad boys out, so you're forcing Baltimore to make a choice. Do I keep my best defense on the field, or do I have to get a little bit lesser quality defenders out there to spread them out? And, hey, you still want to run the ball, go ahead. Motion somebody into the backfield. But get those linebackers out of those holes, and they didn't do that. And, live and learn, I guess. Just went on completely too long on that one. All right, Joseph, what do you got? This game was proof positive that Holmes needs to make a move at the trade deadline. We're going to learn a lot at where he thinks that the team is, aren't we? He brings in a couple key pieces this week. Then, yeah, he thinks we're a contender for the playoffs, make a push, get into the Super Bowl. If he doesn't do anything, to me, that would mean that Brad Holmes thinks we're going to be a pretty good team this year, but we're not all in. We don't think we can get all the way to the Super Bowl this year. It would mean that he doesn't think one or two players are going to be the answers. So we'll find out this week. Either way, Joseph. So Berg's not being negative, but yesterday showed what we really need help on pass rush. I agree. Would everyone sign up for a 6-2 at the bye? Hopefully we bounce back. I'm sure they will. Yeah, it just need to. Yeah, man, it just comes down to who you're going to get and what are you going to give up to give them, I think. But I'm with you. I mean, you want to show the importance of James Houston on pass rushing. I mean, yesterday and unfortunately the last couple of weeks is part of it. Don, yes, we need to get Hutch help. Yep, I'll just leave it at that because I want to get in trouble with YouTube or anything, and I don't know what they flag or don't flag. Phil, would 5-3 be okay in the grand scheme of things if they win out after that or get a ton of wins? Yeah, but I would say going into the bye when you got nothing but time to think, man, you lose 2 straight, and especially one on Monday Night Football, be okay. But I think, yeah, the psychology of the team would then be in question, and man, that's a lot of time to sit on a 2-game losing streak. Pierce, Don, could we see Hoyer again? We could see Hoyer again. Yeah, and either quarterback, I think we're going to fare well against. Hoyer is probably going to be a better setup for us, but we'll see. Brother Ken, if Jalen Carter wasn't so dang goofy, Brad Holmes would have drafted him. Yeah, there's probably a lot of truth to that too, but he ain't here, so I guess we move on to what we could do got and maybe what we do go get. Joseph, why was Harris scratched for the game? I did some checking on that, all hands on deck, and here's your answer. So when Pascal became eligible, when they felt he could play, they moved him up into the rotation and took Harris out. And I get Harris has been a team captain and stuff, so that's kind of a shocker. But I will say this, I'm guessing the coaching staff felt that based on how we started the game, formation-wise and players on the field, that Jack Campbell had bypassed, as far as an outside rusher, Charles Harris. I'm not saying that's right. I'm not saying that's wrong. I'm saying what the data shows. So they sat Harris. They made him a healthy scratch. They moved Pascal up. They moved Jack Campbell out to Harris's spot. To me, that says that, I get Harris hasn't had a great start by any means, but that means that they did feel that Jack Campbell was a better option for them out there than what Harris was. And I will say this, he gives you more flexibility because Harris is not good in pass coverage. Campbell is. Harris getting to the quarterback has been, if you guys think he's been great, that's okay, but I'd say he's been meh this year, kind of indifferent. Campbell has probably been meh getting to the quarterback, but he is much better in pass coverage. So you can do a little bit more with him. I have no idea. I didn't do a deep dive on it, but I can say those are my thoughts based on why they held him out. All right. One funky good morning, all. JP, remember when we felt like this every Monday? I do. Yeah, it seems like just the start of last year, right? So we all got high hopes for this team. We all think it's going somewhere. I still do. It's a loss. It's a brutal loss. It's a humiliating loss. I'm guessing all the power rankings this week will say, hey, the Lions are number 18 in the league now. It's just how things go. You want to change it? Monday night, come out there and put a whooping on the Raiders, or just win. Win by 1 point. Win by 100 points. Just get that W. Mr. Nico, hey, good morning to you. First, I love this community and fan base on this channel. The other subreddit and channels have their torches and pitchforks headed to Ford Field. We're 6-2 and still looking good. Yeah, we win going to the bye. We're 6-2, and man, it's a long season in the NFL, or I guess just pro sports in general. Things are going to happen. You're going to lay an egg sometimes. You're going to lose some close games. You're going to lose a game or two that you never thought you should have or would. And it just, look at the totality of the season. If we finish this season, man, I'll just throw out a record. Let's say, I'm not even sure if I'm doing the math right, 13-5. At the start of the season, in the preseason, wouldn't everybody have taken that? We'll see what shakes out, but I think we're going to be okay. Down what do you got? Pierce, doubt it. Jimmy G will be back to play. Yeah, that's what I think that I want to say. I got that somewhere, but again, don't hold me to it. I haven't really looked into the Raiders yet. One funky, we need help with pass rush. Agreed. And we need to play in a dome. Sorry. Goff's lack of arm strength showed up when the wind pushed his ducks all over the place in the first half. Yeah, I would say there's some truth to that. Lamar did not seem impacted by it, but also look at Lamar's release points. So what do I mean by that? When Goff's throwing out routes or downfield passes, they're high arching passes. So yes, the wind can impact it more. I would say, just for breaking it down easily, Lamar's release point, everything's more of a laser. So it's not in the air as high. It's not impacted by the wind as much. The other part is Lamar's got a cannon for an arm. He's got a Stafford type arm. He can whip it. So it is what it is. The good thing is, you look at, we play half our games at home. A lot of the teams in our division, or I shouldn't say our division, but in our schedule, also play indoors. So there's only going to be a couple of games like this. It is a factor, though. But do you keep them you get rid of Goff because you're worried about it? I wouldn't be that worried about it. I thought we would do a lot more short intermediate passes, spread them out, like I said earlier, in which case his arm issues shouldn't be an issue, but it is what it is. Pierce, wasn't sure the full severity of his injury, it looked pretty bad. Yeah. As far as the injury to Mo, yeah, I hope I'm wrong, but that's probably the last time you'll see him in a NFL game. It's just usually you're talking hips and recovery surgery, and then man, blood flow to that area. They're gonna have to do a lot to make him just be able to walk correctly again. And my guess is, yeah, unfortunately for the kid, his first game in the NFL, as far as a regular season, it's probably going to be his last one. All right, man, Bear, what do we got? Good morning. Good morning to you too. One funky Nick Bono, and I promised you I would look into him. I'll do that today. Don, what do you got? Pass rusher, open the dang playbook even before this game. Yeah, I agree on all the above. Phil, there were a lot of dangerous hits allowed by the refs. Helmet hits, chop blocks, horse collar tackles. Yeah, shameful stuff. The one I know the announcers really jumped on it was where Beckham launched himself into Kirby Joseph for that hit. They missed that one, but the refs and the NFL need to address it. You don't want defenders doing it. You can't allow offensive players to do it. And unfortunately, they do allow offensive players to do it, but you can just as easily damage a defender's head and brain as you can the offensive player. All right, Utch can't do it by himself. No, the real K Collins, I would agree. He's going to get worn out if you don't get him some help. So I would be proactive on it. Houston should be back, I'm guessing, after the bye. But I'm going to say this with Houston. I get he's not ideal against the run. You need help out there against the pass. Get that kid in there. Coach him up. Help him develop his ability to play the run game, because you need something out there getting after that quarterback to help pull coverage away or blocking assignments away from Hutchinson or other players even. And right now, unless you go get somebody else, you don't have someone else. All right, T. Hurd, what do you got? Now we all got to be here all week about this game. The national media couldn't wait. Our coaching staff got whooped bad. Yeah, and like I said yesterday in post-game show, I don't really want to talk about it. We are talking about it today, but come tomorrow, man, everything on this channel is just going to be about the Raiders. It's time to move on. So I'm with you on that. All right, Don. No dang pass rush at all. Shake my head. Yeah, and a lot of that, I think, Don, it's not on the players. It's on what the coaching staff was asking him to do from a schematic standpoint. I put it this way. You look at our season so far, we're far enough in where you've definitely got tendencies. When we're telling the front, 4, 7, or whoever to get after the quarterback, we do a pretty good job of it. When we don't go with just the horseshoe, keep the mobile quarterback bottled up, try to take this, that, the other thing away from them, there is no pass rush because nobody's trying to get to the quarterback. They're trying to keep all the gaps closed so the mobile quarterback can't get out and run. I get that. The problem with it is there's no pressure on the quarterback. And if somebody is patient, and give Lamar credit, he was incredibly patient yesterday. Somebody is going to get open. It's a matter of time, and asking anybody to keep up with a receiver, a tight end for 5 to 8, 9, 10 seconds it's acidine, man. It ain't going to happen. This isn't Pop Warner football where the kids take forever to get open. So, all right, too much on that topic. But all right, Joseph, what do we got? That's why I'm wondering why C. Harris was a healthy scratch. Yeah, I got you on that. Hopefully you heard that. But, yeah, they decided to keep him out to bring up Pascal. So, all right, T. Hurd is making adjustments, not part of coaching. I've talked about this on this channel from time to time. To me, you want to be able to tell where coaches in their evolution, it's if they can make adjustments in game and on the fly. If the experience, okay, you've seen this offense, this defense, whatever it may be, you've seen it enough throughout your career where you can quickly identify it and know, or at least have a pretty good idea how to now attack that. Aaron Glenn, Ben Johnson, Campbell, they're all not even 3 years into their coaching at these positions as a head coach or offensive defense coordinator. Yeah, think about the teams that historically have given this coaching staff fits. It's against coaching communities or staffs that have been doing it for years, decades, which you had yesterday, which he had against Seattle, last year in Carolina, you get the point. The nuances to making adjustments to the game, I get most of us, we don't pay attention to it. We're just sitting there cheering, having some pizza, maybe some Mountain Dew, and just having a good time with family and friends as we watch the games. But from a coaching standpoint, I'm trying to watch what I say here, but it's frustrating to watch the lack of adjustments happen. And it's not just on one side of the ball. It's being so stubborn that, hey, we just got to play better. Hey, you just got to have gap integrity. Hey, you just got to do this. No, it ain't just how the players. And I think that's foolish to do that, because that means they probably didn't know what they didn't know and the adjustments they need to make. And, did we see any stunts out of our defensive front yesterday? Did we see anybody try to pull any rip-throughs on the outside to get past the tackles? And that's one of Hutch's best moves, the upside rip. We didn't see any of that. Why? Because they were all just trying to block hands to shoulders and push the pocket back at Lamar. I mean, those are some grown people on the offensive line. You're asking a whole lot of somebody to invest that much kind of strength and energy into pushing a 320-pound person backwards, who's, by the way, pushing on you, and ask him to do it for, 3 hours? Yeah. We'll move on. All right, the real K. Collins, Jared Goff. I wish this guy was more mobile. Yeah, ain't gonna happen, is it? The mobile quarterbacks do present obviously a huge problem for defensive coordinators. Lamar, if he keeps this up, like I said earlier in the show, he's going to be the most challenging quarterback to guard, because he does have some nice receivers. He's got a great tight end. It's just, man, every time somebody left to go try to stop the running quarterback, they left somebody open, and give him credit. He hit him, and he hit him over and over. All right. James, what do we got? We mostly have a young team. I 100% agree. Budding stars like St. Brown and Hutch. We have no superstars right now. Brad Holmes needs to make a deal or two to help this team if they plan to make the playoffs. Hope 6-2 before the bye. Yeah, and I'm with you. We go 6-2 to the bye, we're all going to be pumped and ready for the second half of the season. All right, Don, what do you got? Games like this, I wouldn't have mind seeing Hendon Hooker. It was over, so insert the rookie. Yeah, another thing I would say is when it was, I don't know, man, maybe the latter part of the third quarter, right before the fourth quarter, I probably would have started getting some dudes out of there, just because, man, if you get some guys hurt or damaged badly where they're going to be less than ideal against the Raiders, now you're doubling down on the bad impact of this game. So I'm just glad that it appears that everybody other than Mo is okay. And again, prayers to him and his family, because that was bad. Kevin, greetings and salutations from Zeeland, Michigan via Cincinnati. We can't lay an egg anymore on defense like that. Yeah, defense, offense. Man, the only thing that seemed to work right was Jack Fox, and he's a weapon, definitely, for sure. But, Kevin, hopefully you're having a good time in Cincinnati. All right, Phil, Lions played slow, bad schemes on both sides of the ball. Yeah, and I talked about it yesterday in the post game. It's just, my identity as a coach, I don't really care what you do. I'm going to force our tendencies on you. You're going to be Blitzburg. You're going to be passive, whatever it is. Just make that what your team does. And I thought yesterday the Lions were just reactionary on both sides of the ball. You're going to do this, Baltimore? Well, we're not going to do what we want to do. We're just, just try to beat you at your own game. And anytime you can take people on what they like to do, make them hesitant, make them, pause for even a half second, you probably got them whooped. And that's what happened. All right, Man Bear, if we go 6-2 in the first 8 games, I'm not going to complain. Me either. Let's get the bad game out of the way. Yeah, and I think you're right. We got it out of the way. So 6-2 going into the bye, man, we're going to be okay. All right, one funky. We only got one team on the schedule that should be a problem. That's Dallas. The other issue is playing in Chicago. It's windy. We in trouble. Yeah. So I would say I'm not going to do a deep dive on the rest of the schedule, but I do think we've got some losable, some games we have to be careful. I do think Chicago is going to give us some problems. That's my anticipation. I hope I'm wrong. I hope we win by a ton. I just think Chicago hits on offense some of our weaknesses. I'm not overlooking Minnesota either. I really, okay, I get Dallas. Dallas can be a problem. There's just I don't want to count wins right now because these are NFL teams. One or two things go against us. It can be a game, but I do believe. I think at the start of the year I picked us to have 11 wins. I'm going to say this: if we don't win 6 games the rest of the year, that's going to be a problem. But I just don't want to say we're going to win 13, 15 or something like that. I think we are going to get the division, but I don't think it's going to be as easy as everybody thinks, or not everybody, but a lot of people think. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we smoke everybody in the division, but I think the Minnesota is going to cause some problems. I do think Chicago will cause some problems for our defense. We'll see what happens. All right, Phil, what do you got? Why didn't they bring in the second team at the end? A couple of our guys were hurting. I can't answer that for you. I'm not sure why in a blowout like that you're letting guys take more undue punishment, but maybe you're trying to build something or whatever. But man, you're 5-1 going into the game. I would think you've built some things by this point. All right, Don Burr, what do you got? Funky. I'm not talking. I can't talk. I'm not taking the Chargers or even Minnesota lightly. Yeah, I would agree. Don't take anybody lightly. Just come out, play your best, whoop them. All right, Motown Gridiron. What do we got? 2 legit playoff teams in Seattle and Baltimore. Same cap defense scheme, game plan on both teams. Hung 30 points on us. Glenn needs to learn. I agree. Go back and watch that Seattle game. For those of you that maybe don't remember some of it, we ran the same funnel, horseshoe, whatever you want to call it, against Geno Smith because we didn't want him to get out and run. And again, you're not putting pressure on a quarterback when you do that. You're trying to collapse a pocket. And again, he might not have had Lamar's 5 to 9 seconds, 10 seconds to pass, but there were most of the game he had, I'd say 2 to 4 seconds, and that's an eternity in the NFL. The real K. Collins, Jared Goff looking like Scott Mitchell. Scott Mitchell, that's a sore subject for me, so I should probably move on. But hey, Mitchell, yeah, he was not a mobile quarterback. Pierce, Jerry Jacobs was for sure missed yesterday. Yeah, he did a knee injury. They didn't really disclose what it is. Couldn't have been too severe, I'd say, to you, Pierce, just because they did put him on the plane. He did come to Baltimore. Game time, his knee wasn't sound enough, so they didn't dress him. So I don't think it's a huge injury, but it was something for sure. All right, a couple more, and then it's probably time for me to go. Phil, Chicago playing great without Fields. Another Purdy, maybe. But I don't think they're going to get rid of Fields anytime soon. But I think Chicago's offense is starting to develop. Whoever's at quarterback, they've shown some real signs of development, growth, and better understanding of the concepts they're running. Plus, they're an attacking offense, not a reactionary one. They're going to go out and just do what they do. You have to adjust to them. I'm a big fan of stuff like that. So, anyways, Chicago isn't playing great. They beat a bad Raiders team. Yeah, and a bad Raiders team without their starting quarterback. Could be, but I will say this. I just want us to beat the Raiders bad. All right. How about 2 more? We'll call it good for the day. Don, that's fair. The only thing I can say is those games will all be in a dome. Yep. We should have most of our games in dome. I think the rest of the season, a couple outdoors, but not a ton. All right, Phil, you give any pro quarterback 8 to 10 seconds, they're going to pick you apart. Yeah, you can't do that. All right, smoke you some. Looks like CJ equals cash to me. Yeah. Flips. Yeah. I'll just put it this way. I'm looking at this year for them as I'm just gonna move on. All right. The blame ultimately lands back on Dan Campbell. Yeah, MCDC. I agree. Yeah, he's got to have a talk with both of his coordinators. They do have. I guess the positive is we have a couple more games like this. Probably both coordinators aren't going anywhere next year unless they fire them. It's not about Chicago. It's about the win and Goff. Yeah. Jeff reviews. They went straight And Will Harris, yeah, I didn't get how he's still on the team. He is terrible, always getting burned. And they did target him, especially on a lot of those deep shots. Maybe that's, I don't know. Maybe that's why Aaron Glenn had him backed off, 5 yards or whatever from the line of scrimmage, so he couldn't get beat deep. But I get the Jacobs injury popped up late, caught him off guard. But I think to your point, and I know a couple of you guys have pointed out too earlier this week when we didn't even know about Jerry Jacobs' knee, we don't really have a ton of depth there. I was surprised that Harris was out there. Maybe they just didn't feel Gilmore was ready. Harris, I get he's a Swiss Army knife. He can play multiple different positions, all that stuff. But let's also be fair. Pass coverage is not his strength. And just like it's not for Tracy Walker. I didn't think Tracy Walker had a horrible game, but having him matched up consistently with their tight end, Andrews, isn't ideal. It's not what he does well. And if you want more coverage players, you're going to have to continue to draft more coverage players. Maybe you give up something in the hitting and boom department, but if you're going to ask everybody to play man-to-man, you got to have people that can, play man-to-man. All right, I'm definitely over Will Harris experiment. Yeah, I think we could do an hour-long show on that. Goff was indecisive, to say the least. The real, I would say that was probably true with a lot of things. But how much of that is because their defensive schemes show the same looks, but yet every play they're dropping into different coverages, different people into different passing angles and lanes. You cause a couple of seconds of hesitation, and you got a defensive front that's going after the quarterback. I don't know what Goff had every time he dropped back to pass. I'm going to say under 3 seconds. Somebody, if you got the actual time, let me know. But if you can cause half a second or a full second for a quarterback to have to sit there and read and go through progressions, because, hey, the play before they were in this, the play before they were in that, the front seven looked the same on either. This guy is coming. Oh, now this time he isn't. You also cause blocking assignment issues, which we didn't do at all. And to be fair, we haven't done it in weeks. That's the problem I'm having with the OC and the DC. Is we're playing reactionary ball, not aggressive, focused ball. All right, last one, and then it's time to go. Brad Holmes has to come off some draft capital. We need help on the D line. Bonus one, Phil. Dan cannot be good experienced coaches. Yeah, Dan cannot be good experienced coaches, and I'd say right now the coordinators are having a problem with it as well, and that's got to change. I get the more they play, the more they're going to get experience. But, that's why hiring veteran coaches, I get it's kind of a faux pas in the NFL or even pro sports. But you get somebody who's already learned a lot of life lessons on somebody else's dime that should benefit you if you believe in what they're trying to preach and their schematics. All right. I'm going to get going. It's about that time. And I'm going to say this. If you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, really trying to make a push to get to 3,800 by Monday night football kickoff time. Please tell your mother, tell your friend, tell your mother's friends about Lions Talk Live. Let's get some more subscribers. Hope you all have a great one. I know what I'm about to go do. See what I did there? Mountain Dew. All right. Have a good one. Some breaking news hits. I'll get on the mic and get you guys with it. Have a great day, everybody. See you on the next Lions Talk Live.